Well, everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the iPhone 16 and compare it against the iPhone 11 Pro Max and see which particular phone is a better one for you. Now, in almost every single way I can imagine, quite clearly, the iPhone 16 is a way better phone here than the iPhone 11 Pro Max. So just kind of keep that in mind. If you're wanting the better one, in my personal opinion, it's going to be the iPhone 16. But I do think it's, in some ways, the iPhone 11 Pro Max is still like an interesting device. I definitely do think for some people out there, it might be the better one, from a price tag standpoint. So from that side, let's go and see which one's the better one here. If you want to go ahead and pick up either one of these devices, links will be down in the description. You can get that from there and you can help support the channel at the exact same time. Now, starting off with the outside of both these phones, the iPhone 11 Pro Max came out in 2019, and on the front side, it's giving you a 6.5-inch Super Retina XDR OLED display. Now, the thing I will definitely tell you, in my personal opinion, is that if you're going to pick up an iPhone, this one is definitely bigger. And I do like having an iPhone that is bigger, like on the iPhone 11 Pro Max, right? It's a great looking display. You're getting the notch up top, which is good, but it's not as bright as the iPhone 16 and it's only 60 Hz. But, it's still an okay panel when it kind of comes down to it. On the iPhone 16, on the other hand, this particular phone is giving you a 6.1-inch Super Retina XDR OLED display. So this panel, in my personal opinion, like this particular device, is definitely going to be a way better panel in my personal opinion. It gets brighter, which is really, really nice. And it definitely is a really good looking display. Like if I'm going to go through and pick up a display, this one is way better. It doesn't give you a notch, but it just gives you that, dynamic island, which is also a very nice thing to have. And I do think for the most part, if you're going to go through and pick up a panel, this one is definitely a way better one when it kind of comes down to it. So from that side, I think that is kind of a big thing to keep in mind there. And if you're going to go and pick up an iPhone, definitely the iPhone 16 is a better looking one here for sure. Now, on top of that, when it comes down to the, build qualities between both, they're both built relatively the same. Like they both feel and look very, very nice. You're getting this curved side on the iPhone 11 Pro Max. On the iPhone 16, you're getting the action button and the camera button, which is a really nice thing to have too. But a very big thing is on the bottom of both these phones. So the iPhone 11 Pro Max is giving you that Lightning port, which I think is really nice to have. Lightning is great, and you're going to be getting that on the iPhone 11 Pro Max. But the iPhone 16 is going to be giving you basically that USB Type-C port. And that is a really big change. Going from Lightning to USB-C, in my personal opinion, is a massive, massive change, and that in and of itself is going to be a very big thing. So personally for me, if I'm going to go through and pick up an iPhone, definitely something like the iPhone 16 giving me USB-C is a massive change in and of itself. Now on top of that, another very big thing to keep in mind here too is on the backside. Both are giving you frosted glass backs here, which is super nice to have. I love having frosted glass backs, and you're definitely going to be getting that on both these devices, which again is a very nice thing to have. On top of that, you're getting a dual camera setup on the iPhone 16, where you're getting a triple camera setup on the iPhone 11 Pro Max. So that right there is also just another kind of interesting thing going on there too, that you're getting more cameras on the iPhone 11 Pro Max. On top of that, you're essentially getting a fairly similar type of build quality for the, most part between both. But I will say the iPhone 16 is definitely the far better feeling one. You're getting MagSafe capability on the back of the iPhone 16, which is very nice to have as well. And overall, I'd probably tell you, if you're going to look through it both, you're definitely getting the overall better one inside of something like the iPhone 16 than for something like the iPhone 11 Pro Max. So from that side, that kind of covers it up there. On top of that, when it comes down to the price tag side, the iPhone 11 Pro Max, the main advantage for this phone is that it is significantly cheaper than the iPhone 16. You can buy an iPhone 11 Pro Max for very, very cheap prices right now, which I think is a very nice thing to have. Whereas on the iPhone 16, this one is $829 for an unlocked model, and that can be kind of a disadvantage for some people. So if you're trying to get the cheaper device here, keep in mind, it is pretty much going to be on something like the iPhone 11 Pro Max, when it kind of comes down to it from that side. So from that side as well, that kind of covers it up there too. Now, when it comes down to the camera side of things, like I mentioned before, this is another interesting thing. So on paper, you're actually getting more cameras on the iPhone 11 Pro Max than the iPhone 16. So the iPhone 11 Pro Max is giving you a wide ultra-wide and telephoto lenses, where the iPhone 16 is giving you a higher megapixel count wide and ultra-wide camera. Now, even though there's a dedicated telephoto lens on the iPhone 11 Pro Max, the iPhone 16 gives you the same amount of zooming in capability as the iPhone 11 Pro Max. So they both give you 10x zoom when it comes down to the inside of both. So that is kind of a big thing going on between both these devices in my personal opinion. So if you're going to go through and like pick up a phone, it is pretty insane that you're going to be getting that type of capability inside of something like the iPhone 16. But I will say from a feature standpoint, the iPhone 16 definitely wins here. You're going to be getting things like cinematic mode, macro photography, 4K at 60 on the front and back of both, but you're getting things like spatial photos and videos, and it's just an overall better type of camera when it comes down to it. So from this side as well, if you're looking at both these phones, definitely something like the iPhone, 11 Pro Max is not a terrible camera from today's standards, but the iPhone 16's camera is significantly better than the iPhone 11 Pro Max in almost every single way you can imagine. So from that side as well, I think that's another very, very big thing to keep in mind there too. Now, on top of that, another very big thing to keep in mind here as well is the fact that the iPhone 11 Pro Max, this type of phone isn't going to be lasting forever. And I'm not really too sure how much longer this phone is going to last, but there's a pretty high likelihood that the 11 Pro Max is pretty much, going to be done within the next 2 years. So if you are wanting the phone that's going to be kind of a shorter, that's not going to last as long, it's pretty much going to be the iPhone 11 Pro Max, right? The iPhone 16 is just getting started with software updates, and that phone has so many more software updates ahead of it. So once again, if you are wanting the phone that's going to be lasting for a longer period of time, it definitely is going to be something like the iPhone 16. That one is definitely going to be the one that's going to be faster, performing better, and pretty much every single thing else like that across the board, it's going to be way better on something like the iPhone 16. So keep that in mind too. When it comes down to the battery life, Apple states that the iPhone 11 Pro Max gives you 20 hours of video playback. The iPhone 16 gives you 22 hours of video playback. In my personal opinion, from me using these devices, the iPhone 16 is definitely going to be giving you far superior battery life than something like the iPhone 11 Pro Max right now when it comes down to it from that side as well. So just another one of those things to kind of keep in mind there too. On top of all of those things, another very big thing to keep in mind here is the fact that the iPhone 11 Pro Max is giving you that Apple A13 Bionic chip inside of it with 4GB of RAM, where the iPhone 16 is giving you that Apple A18 chipset inside of it with 8GB of RAM. So definitely when it comes down to this particular perspective, you are once again getting a way better performing device on something like the iPhone 16 than the iPhone 11 Pro Max. So this is just something that's really, really important to keep in mind, because if you are getting a phone, you're definitely going to be getting a way better performing device on something like the iPhone 16 than the iPhone 11 Pro Max. So once again, from a performance perspective, from a RAM perspective, definitely the iPhone 16 is the better one here. But I definitely do look at devices like the iPhone 11 Pro Max, and I definitely do like having phones like this, right? The 11 Pro Max is still not terrible, and I think it does get the job done kind of. But the issue with the iPhone 11 Pro Max is that with this type of phone, it's just kind of that it's kind of almost like at its end of life, and I would hate for you to go and buy a phone like that if it's already going to be kind of outdated with software. So overall, what I'll probably tell you is that with a device like the iPhone 11 Pro Max, this is a phone that, was a great phone when it first came out. I probably just wouldn't really recommend buying a phone like this anymore. Like, it just doesn't make too much sense for me to recommend a phone like that to people. And the iPhone 16, I think, is a way better device here. And I do think that one is the one that if you're going to go through and pick up a device, that one makes a lot more sense to go and buy than something like the iPhone 16 or than something like the iPhone 11 Pro Max. So in terms of that kind of covers it up there for the most part. If you have any other thoughts or questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that'll mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.